Our next session, creating impactful player experiences with monetization. We have Erik and Ilya. Spoke to Erik earlier on. Hello there. A thrilling mobile game keeps players coming back for more. But how do you generate the funds to continue building your game? A smart monetization strategy puts gameplay first and keeps your players engaged and retained. Fantastic, fellas.
But it's not going to be a panel at first. I will just be presenting alone.
Oh, right, okay.
And then I will invite Erik to the stage.
Aha, beautiful.
Yeah.
By all means, step up.
All right, thank you, and welcome everyone to this second session in the morning of second day of Pocket Gaming Connects Helsinki. I really appreciated you waking up early to come and listen to this session. And today we will be talking about how can we create impactful player experiences with monetization and optimizing monetization strategy in the game. So I will quickly introduce myself. My name is Ilya. I work for Unity for the last 4.5 years, and I've been managing supply side of our monetized business, managing relationships with our partners, and focusing primarily on Nordic Europe. By the way, can you hear me well? Please let me know. Okay, thank you. And later throughout the session, I will invite Erik Pöntiskoski from Dodreams, the CEO of Dodreams, where we will talk more about their journey with ad monetization and how it has helped improve their player experience. So, 1 second. Yeah. So today's topic will be surrounding specifically ad monetization and hybrid monetization. In fact, in nowadays world, we know how much the competition for players has increased, and that is due to availability of engines, due to a lot of games coming up on app stores, and I'm actually talking about mobile, just for reference. And we also are seeing a lot of viral hits coming out in stores and actually stealing all the attentions of players. So in order to stay relevant, it is important to create impactful experiences that are engaging, and ad monetization does actually play an important role in this. And as an example, we have a great game from Dodreams called Drive Ahead. I'm pretty sure many of you have heard of it, many of you have played it. But this game is just, it's fun to play. It has amazing gameplay mechanics. It has utilized social aspects of shareability of clips and different game modes. And it's just a good example of how you can create impactful experience. And it also utilizes hybrid monetization model, which we will dive into a little bit later. So when done right, monetization strategy can actually help create this impactful experience that we're all looking for. And we will talk about this a little bit more in details as we dive into this session. So I will share a little bit more about the agenda. So first, we will look at the findings that the Unity and Meta have found in their recent reports, where we surveyed hundreds of thousands of developers. Next, we will break down the steps required to achieve that goal into 3 separate steps, followed by a Q&A with Erik and closing remarks on how the right partner can help you achieve those goals. And if we have enough time, we will ask the audience for questions and try to answer them. All right, so I would like to start with some wake-up activity. And we're going to have a couple of myths or misconceptions about ads, specifically ads monetization, and I would like the audience to be engaged into this activity. So, number 1, we have a statement that says ads negatively impact player retention. Could you please raise your hand if you agree with that statement? And we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and if you disagree, please raise your hands. Yes, that's my audience. In fact, it is false. Um, I would like to, um, well, it is false because first of all, it does not negatively impact retention, and if ads are implemented right, it actually boosts retention. And according to the Unity Gaming Report of 2022, we found that implementing ads in the right way improves day 1, 7, and 30 retention rates by the percentages you can see on the screen. So 26.3%, 8.27, and 3.42 respectively. It is an important, it is a very common misconception that ads negatively impact, yet the data shows the opposite. If done right, it helps with player retention. Number 2. Developers don't like ads in games. So if the first one was about players and how they react to ads, now we have developers. Now, well, I'm pretty sure many of you in the audience are representing this group. Could you please raise your hand if you believe that this is true? Developers, or you don't like ads in games? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. All right, we have close to 50-50. And well, if you believe this is false, please raise. Okay, actually no, more developers disagree with this. And well, drum roll moment. It is false. And it's not just me telling you that this is false. We have some data to back it up. In that moment, we will look at Meta's report. And if many of you have been yesterday here and at the sessions, Meta has shown the findings from their previous report. They run called Meta's Ads and Meta's Ads IAP and Beyond report, and it has shown that 93% of developers they have surveyed use in-game ads as part of a hybrid monetization model. So, in fact, more and more developers are moving towards this structure of monetization, as it is more difficult nowadays to rely on just one source of revenue. But it's not only about revenue, and later throughout the session you will see why. Okay, let's go to the third misconception. In-app purchase content is often not enough to achieve revenue targets. That's a trick question, I'll give a hint. Please raise your hand if you believe this is true or not. Sorry, if this is true. 1, 2, 3, 4. And if you believe that this statement is false? Couple, yeah, we still have 50-50. Well, in that case, it is true. In-app purchase content is often not enough to achieve revenue targets. The key word is often. And why is this so? From Meta's report, once again, we're coming back to their in-app advertising and ads beyond report. 62% of developers that were surveyed believe in the combination of in-app advertising and IAP as the best strategy to meet their average revenue per daily active user goals, as well as retention goals as developers launch the game. And now, if we use this finding together with another number we found in the Unity Mobile Insights report, which states that less than 1.8% spend in-game, that means the majority of audience, well, many of you know, doesn't spend a penny in games, and there has to be a way to monetize them. Every additional DAU is a cost for the studio in terms of live ops, and just by missing out on this opportunity, you may be missing on a lot of revenue. But now, as we have gone through these three, I'm sorry, my voice is not in the best shape in the morning. Now, as we've gone through these three misconceptions, let's wait a little bit. Uh-oh. Let's talk about 3 steps that are necessary to align monetization with player journey. So we have just looked at 3 misconceptions surrounding ad monetization, and I would like to bring your attention to the strategy that you may follow in order to create a impactful player experience. Before I dive into these 3 steps, I would like to set advertising goals. So for example, if a developer decides to implement ad monetization into their game, what would be the goals they're trying to achieve? And I'm not going to really expect you to come up with these. I will help you with that. We believe that there are 3 main goals that advertising can help achieve. First of all, that is monetizing your player base. That includes both payers and non-payers. The second would be improving player retention. And third would be converting non-payers into payers. And throughout these 3 steps, we will see how this can help you achieve these 3 goals. So number 1 would be identifying surfacing points in your game loops. I'm pretty sure everyone is familiar with 3 different loops there are in game development. So it would be core loop, secondary loop, and tertiary loop. We will be looking at the first 2, but not in too much details. So as we talk about surfacing points, what is a surfacing point in the game? Surfacing point is an opportunity where developers can implement their ads in order to achieve one of their goals that they have set with their ad monetization strategy. That could be help a player progress faster whenever they're stuck, or introduce new content through ad rewards, or for example, fill the gap of transition moment in the game. So if there's a natural transition between a level and the menu, this could be used as an opportunity to show an interstitial ad. Now I know many people believe that this is not the best experience, although if implemented right and not intrusively, this does not really negatively impact player experience. So, as we just mentioned, we have 3 advertising goals we would like to achieve with ad monetization. And yes, we also discussed 3 different possible implementations. Depending on your game genre, depending on the structure of your loops, there could be many and multiple different opportunities. This is where ad monetization managers work together with game designers to align on the strategy so that ad monetization does not only cannibalize the experience, it actually supplements it by providing additional value. How to do that? Let's look at our next slide, which is actually which covers the integration part. So, as we have identified multiple surfacing points that help us achieve the goals we have set out in the first place, and I would like to remind them, monetizing our player base, improving player retention, as well as converting pairs into non-pairs. It is now the time where we look at the potential opportunities and integrate the right formats. Commonly used formats in mobile games nowadays are, well, first of all, video advertising, and video ads are divided into 2 categories. It's either interstitials or rewarded videos. Both formats typically cover the whole screen, yet they're used in different ways and have some specifics in terms of their configurations. For example, as mentioned before, the first advertising goal, which is monetizing your player base, can be very effectively achieved by interstitials. Now, if we are worried about our paying audience, we may exclude them from seeing these ads. So those who are in your pairs category or cohort, there are ways to make sure they are only exposed to rewarded video ads. Once again, that is depending on your structure and what you believe is the right strategy for an impactful player experience. Next, we have a lot of mechanics. For example, it's a very complicated game with 12 different game modes. You don't want to introduce all the game modes at once to the player. This can be really overwhelming. Instead, these can be unlocked through an ad reward. Properly dosing content and actually incentivizing the player to get access to it is one of the good strategies to make sure your players are having enough time to process the new information they're being exposed to. Next, we can also introduce in-app purchases. So whenever you have a new game mode, you may also likely introduce a new in-app purchase product, offering to try it out or offering it as a temporary, let's say, gift as a reward for watching a video ad is also one of the ways how you can convert your players into non-payers. Oh, sorry, players into payers. Once again, these three goals, we just covered the three goals we initially set out and how integrating ad monetization can help you achieve them. If by the way, you have questions about this part, please remember them. We should have enough time after the session to cover them. All right, now once you have integrated ad monetization into your game, it is important to, 1 second, I think it's once again frozen. Yeah. So it is important not to stop there and actually continue optimizing and measuring your results. So I would say level up your strategy by measuring and optimizing. Game development in general, games are a data product in addition to entertainment value they provide. It is important to identify the key metrics that ad monetization managers have to follow. There are so many of them, but I would like to point out three most important ones. That would be eCPM, ARPDAU, and IMPDAU. eCPM stands for effective cost per mil, which is essentially the revenue you generate per 1,000 impressions shown in your game. Impressions being a video ad show. Then ARPDAU, well, average revenue per daily active user, and IMPDAU, impressions per daily active user. Once you have set out the analytics tools to track these metrics, it is important to iterate different ad monetization strategies, but never avoid A/B testing. A/B testing is your best friend, actually, because there are many different factors that may affect your results and metrics. In order to factor out external, in order to factor out external events that may be affecting your results, please make sure you A/B test everything. So if you decide to add an additional placement in your game, it is important to A/B test it. Over time, you will see that there may be very not obvious ad placements that work really well. And every placement is unique to your game, to your audience, and to your genre. Don't try to copycat. Be creative and iterate. Always reiterate. In addition to testing different placements in your game, it is important to work with your ad monetization software, or very often developers use mediation software, and unlock access to more demand sources by adding more networks in your stack. As your game grows, there's more potential ad viewers, meaning that more and more demand sources will be needed in order to compete for the impression. In addition to that, once the game grows and your audience spreads out globally, well, it is important to work on every country tier or it is important to set out a strategy specific to your country groups. For example, you have tier 1 countries, you have tier 2 and 3. They have different pricing structures, and it is important to make sure that all these are aligned with the region you're working with. On that note, I would like to, 1 second, we have a slight delay with load. I would like to invite my friend and colleague and great partner, Erik Pöntiskoski, on stage. We will talk about how Dodreams supports winning player experience and how ad monetization has helped them achieve all the goals we have set out today. And yes, Erik, would you like to share a little bit more about, yeah, I'm going to take a seat off. Would you like to share a little bit more about Drive Ahead and Dodreams Studio with the audience?
Hello, folks. My name is Erik. I'm CEO at the Dodreams Game Studio. We believe that most games out there just provide mere competition against faceless strangers. And we'd like to be a studio that really brings your family and friends together to play. We're the developers of Drive Ahead. Drive Ahead is a gladiator car fight game. So the simple premise of the game is that you get points by knocking friends in the head with a car. And I'm glad to see some people chuckle there, because that's the reaction we've received from about 225 million people all over the world. So that's the number of organic downloads we have with the game so far. We're a studio based in Helsinki, nearly 20 people, and we're all focusing on developing Drive Ahead. There's lots of cool stuff we can do with live ops still, and we're even bringing new features like real-time online multiplayer into the game.
Thank you, Erik. And actually, I remember when I was looking at metrics, the majority of player base comes back to your game even after months of playing. So it's like an evergreen title that lives in hearts of mobile gamers for ages. And yeah, that's just an amazing success story, and I love coming back to that game myself. So thank you for developing it. I think it's good if we just discuss a bit more in details your journey. And could you share a little bit more about the goals that Dodreams was trying to achieve with ad monetization in Drive Ahead, and if those goals aligned with the ones I just talked about?
Sure, Ilya. Well, obviously, when we first launched the game and we put the ads there, it was to make money. So I think like ads are a really great solution for monetizing a large player base, or the large portion of the player base. We were quite young studio, quite young team when we originally launched the game, and when it came to like this free-to-play monetization, the system wasn't very advanced. So by putting rewarded video and interstitials in the game, you could start monetizing the audience and the game right away, and that revenue provided us with the runway to make updates, bring new content, experiment things with in-app purchases, and allows us to consistently work towards increasing the lifetime value of the user. So just simply making money was like the important thing, because we are a professional studio, and you need to pay salaries to the team. After that, then of course the free-to-play thinking has evolved in our studio, and we've been thinking of this: what gets people to play the game for a long time. And I think ads are a really great way to give these players a sense of progression and access to fun, because we realize that not everybody is able, or they don't necessarily want to spend money in the game. So we want to give them that opportunity also. So then you enter into this more like this optimization phase where let's say that you have ad placements with timers, and that allows to create an appointment mechanic. So if the player, in the case of Drive Ahead, you want to unlock cars and you want to level them up for more power, and you need those parts. And you can get them, of course, by grinding, by playing the game actively. But maybe there's a boss fight going, and you really want to level up before that. So you can watch an ad, and you get a container, and you might get something that's really useful for the next battle. So this is more like optimizing and using rewarded video for an appointment mechanic. And then lastly, I think that people who, it's not that either you spend money in the game or you don't. So often people who make in-app purchases also like to watch rewarded video, and we can use these ads in the game to give them a free taste of what you could get if you spend money in the game. And we've been using rewarded video to teach people to go to the shop in the game. That in the shop you can buy gems and you can buy car parts, but there's a part of the shop where there is a free box, and some of them are really good, but then they're not available all the time. So you go there and you can get the box, and then you want to go check like when is it available again the next time, and while you're there maybe you browse some other offers, and that way you might convert into a paying user.
So what we just heard is exactly confirming that there are three goals: making money or monetizing your player base, helping your players progress, so giving them this sense of progress by appointing mechanics, and encouraging them to check out your storefront in the IAP store. So that's great. And you mentioned you're using both interstitials and rewarded video ads.
Yeah, so in Drive Ahead, we want to have a hybrid approach in monetization. So yes, there are these in-app purchases there, there's rewarded video, and we do use interstitials also, and we even have been using in-game ads now, like these native in-game ads for about a year. And I think it's a question of like allowing everybody to choose how they want to invest and spend money in the game. So it's a free-to-play game. If you want to grind and you want to play a lot, show your skill, you know, you can progress. We don't want to put paywalls there. If you want to take a chance and feel lucky, then you can watch rewarded video. You're going to get something good, but it's going to be a little bit random. So yeah, you may want to play the gotcha a couple of times.
So randomize the rewards.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then if you want something for certain and you want it right away, then you spend money and you make an in-app purchase. So the player always has a choice how they want to monetize in the game.
Yeah. And has your game always followed like a hybrid monetization model where you have both ads and IAP monetization structure?
Yes, it's been there from the beginning, and I think like, you know, sometimes you hear game developers say that my goal is to make this game design so good and the monetization so good that someday we're going to take out all the ads. And my reaction then usually is that, wow, you're a real jerk. You know, like we are very wealthy. So somebody is talking to me, drinking a €7 smoothie they picked up from the subway station on the way here, and you're saying that I want to take out the ads. You know, this is the most democratic way to monetize players, and the reason why we need to monetize them is that we want to continue updating the game, bringing awesome new content, new features, and that's not possible without monetizing. So that's why there has to be a hybrid approach. So you want to make in-app purchases, you can make in-app purchases, that's great. This is what we offer. There's rewarded video. If you just love playing the game, that yeah, okay, we're going to start showing those interstitials at some point.
Yeah, so essentially, hybrid model really meets both studios' goals and players' goals, especially those who can't really, let's say, spend in games. I agree with you. It's a very democratic way of monetizing game and actually improving player experience and helping the studio continue running their operations. Okay, well, that's a lot of insights you shared today. Thank you, Erik. I think we have a lot of both beginner and advanced developers here in the studio. I would say, what do you think? What advice could you give to publishers and developers in our audience and listening to us online in terms of monetization? How can they succeed with monetization? What should they do in order to succeed with monetization?
Well, my most important advice for everybody is remember to drink a lot of water. So many people complained to me yesterday that they had a headache. And you know, when you're working hard and you're focusing on the job or you're at an event like this, you might forget to drink water. And I even actually had a bit of a headache when I went to bed last night. So that's the most important thing. Then after that, I would say that you know, game developers often have a complex relationship with monetization. So everybody knows you need to make money, but you're kind of like need to show or at least pretend that you don't really care about money. Mm-hmm. And you know, just get over it. That's my advice. Because the thing is that if you give everything away for free, if you give it away too easily, then players aren't going to value what you offer in the game. So people play games because they want to have fun with their friends, and they want to have this experience of progression. And all the numbers that Ilya showed, like do players like ads or not, they work only when you do a good implementation. So a lousy implementation of ads is not going to give you a good result. That's why this game design and monetization design has to go hand in hand. And revenue is an outcome of the action you did before. So depending on how well you did your job in the design and implementation phase, then the result and outcome of that is going to be revenue. And earlier I made the mistake as CEO when I was talking to the team and trying to get good ideas how we could grow the business so we can invest more in the team and invest in making a portfolio of games, that I asked the team that, how are you going to grow revenue? How is this next update going to grow revenue? And if you give these very poorly structured questions and assignments to the team, you're going to get really bad ideas, because the ideas are all over the place. And what really helped us when we actually reached out to our accounting partner and we brought in an interim CFO, and the chief financial officer sat down with us, a fellow who has no experience in games, and we created the formula of a free-to-play game revenue. So we all know that revenue equals ARPDAU, average revenue per daily active users, multiplied by DAU. And how can you, where does DAU come from? Where do the daily active users come from? It comes from the new users and the returning users. And you can start breaking down the revenue into IAPs and ads. So let's take ad revenue as an example. So you have a certain number of daily active users, and then you have conversion rate, or the engagement rate. What percentage of these users are engaging with video ads? Then you have the impressions per daily active user, and then you have the eCPM that the advertiser is paying for those views. So what is the problem here we're solving? So you can't just say that let's make more ad revenue. So is it, for example, that when we're looking at our data, that not very many people are watching these ads, the engagement rate is low? Then you have to ask the team the question that, what do we need to change in the game to get more people to watch at least one ad? And the thinking there is, of course, that the eCPM, the price you get for the first view of the day and the session, is the highest.
So essentially, you could, to start playing the game, please watch an ad.
Yeah. I mean, you can do it that. Some do it so that, okay, we're going to force one interstitial to everybody. I mean, that is an approach. I don't know if I'd recommend it, but it is an approach. And you can try it. Okay, so that's the engagement rate. So maybe you need to look at the data that are enough people engaging with this content, and it might be that they don't really get the value, that they don't realize that why should I watch the ad. Then the second problem could be that, well, people are watching these ads, but not very many. Maybe there's something wrong with the placements. Maybe it's a UI, UX, in-game communication.
Or the reward is not really
or the reward isn't, or
valuable.
the timing is not right in the place.
Yeah.
And then lastly is eCPM. Well, of course, as a developer, there's not much you can do for it. But then you might want to consider that, okay, are we going to go with mediation? Do we work on the waterfall here somehow, or eCPM price floors? But the point is, and I'm going to end here now, Ilya, don't worry, is that all these questions, it might be different people that you're dealing with in your organization discussing to solve them.
Yep. And that's a very good point you mentioned, actually, Erik, regarding optimizing your waterfall. It may take quite a lot of time, and it is important to work with the right partner when dealing with ad monetization. And actually, on that note, I think we're coming close to the end of our presentation. Thank you, Erik, for sharing your insights, by the way. I'm pretty sure the audience found them really helpful. But I would like to move on to some of the closing remarks. Right. Oh, yeah, that was a specific slide for Q&A. Sorry, I kind of skipped that one. So how can the right ad monetization partner help you? Actually, you know what? I'm going to sit down still. So when you manage your waterfall, it may look like rocket science and completely new discipline if you never worked with it before. So it is important to work with the right partner that can actually help drive your optimization strategy and help you to get going, especially if your studio has limited resources. Utilizing so-called header bidding solutions can help you save a lot of time on waterfall optimization. And In addition to that, while you have header bidding solutions automatically optimizing your waterfall structure, which is essentially the pricing strategy, you're also unlocking additional demand sources. And by demand sources, I mean sources of advertisers who are competing for the attention of your players. But these 2 points are revenue-centric, right? And you're resource-centric, as you want to invest more time into actually working on your game design rather than optimizing numbers all the time. It is important to remember about compliance. And I remember, Erik, we had that conversation with you as well. There's so many different regulations developers have to stay compliant with nowadays, and the right partner can actually help you stay compliant. It's regarding GDPR, PIPL, CCPA, COPPA regulations, and I'm pretty sure there are more and more coming of them globally. So the right partner has the necessary tools or so-called pop-ups that help you stay compliant, and please keep that in mind. And not knowing does not free you from responsibility. That's very important. And finally, as we just mentioned, as it may sound like rocket science, the right partner can help with their expertise and with benchmarks. We work with a lot of developers. We've seen different stories, case studies, and in fact, there's one case study we would like to share with you on the next slide. But don't be shy to ask questions. The partner is there exactly to help you, and not there's no other reason for us to be there and waiting for your questions. So, on that note, I think I just double-clicked. Is there? No, yes. So, on that note, I would like to, as we're coming to the end of this presentation, I would like to thank everyone for coming here. And Erik, thank you so much for sharing all the insights and actually driving the most impactful part of this conversation. I truly encourage the audience and everyone listening to us online or in the recording to check the links in the presentation to learn more about our monetized products as well as our mediation software, and make sure you check out the case study we've done together with Erik on Dodreams, specifically on Drive Ahead. And well, if you go and check it out, it's not if, it's when. Please do also check out the game itself in the app stores. It's a very engaging game, and Erik, and yours to your studio, and I see some of your colleagues in the audience as well. Thank you so much for working on it and showing an example how developers can deliver impactful player experiences.
Yeah, thanks Ilya for having me here, and I'd love for you to check out the case study and reach out to us on LinkedIn or whatnot if you have any thoughts, and we'd love to hear how you've been developing your monetization and what you learned. Thank you.
Oh yes. Thank you. Sorry.
Fantastic. Give it up for Ilya and Erik. Any questions for the guys? Do corner them anytime. I'm sure that they want to hear from you. That was great. Thank you for that, fellas. Moving on.
There was a question.
Oh, there is a question. Make it quick. Make it quick. We're going to get moving. Go on, very quickly. Here you go.
Thanks for the discussion. Erik, by the way, great first name. I'm Erik from Tactile.
Wow.
I have a very quick question about segmentation, because you touched upon this topic very quickly. Do you have any segmentation between payers and non-payers in your ad monetization strategy?
Yes, I do that in the optimization phase. So we have our own game as a service backend where you can segment basically based on any criteria you track in the analytics, and paying or non-paying users, that's a really great way, for example, with planning with interstitials. But there's also a lot more you can do to make sure that the ad offer is relevant, and it's presented at the right time. So basically, like, what has the player been playing? Did they win, lose? What do they have in their inventory in the game? So lots of good stuff to use in segmentation.
Cool. As I said, any further questions, do catch up with the guys later on. Fellas, thank you so much for that.